Hi, everybody. We're going to talk about angles. I'm going to kind of go back and forth between two screens. One is a Nearpod show that I showed you all who came to the live lesson last Thursday. If you've already seen it, that's okay because I'm going to add some more stuff to it. And if you haven't seen it, then it's important for you to watch it because we're going to be naming angles, we're going to be measuring angles, and all that kind of fun stuff. So, first of all, if you look at this picture here, we have two parallel lines. So this line right here is parallel to this line right here. Remember, parallel means that they never intersect. They just go straight through. I always think of two sides of a roadway. Those are parallel lines. And then this line that cuts through this, the word that we're going to use for it is a transversal. The transversal actually will cut between two parallel lines, and they make a whole bunch of angles. So we have from here to here to here, that's an angle. From this dot to this dot to this dot, that's another angle. So anytime you make little mini less than greater than signs, those are angles. Going on to the next one here. So basically, angles are made up of three things. You have two rays and you have a vertex. And we've already talked about vertices before when we were talking about 2D shapes, and even last year in sixth grade, where we looked at our polygons and those corners where our vertices, or if we have one, they're our vertex. I want to draw this real quick to talk a little bit more about rays. So I'm going to open up this page here. So if I draw a vertex, okay, my drawing skills are not the super best. So there's a vertex. Rays will come out of the vertex. So you're thinking of your angle, and then you have two rays that come out. A ray is something that starts at one point and goes on and on, pretend that line is straight, on and on in one direction. And here's another ray. It's going to go on and on in another direction. All right, so they both start at the same vertex, and then one ray shoots the other way, and one ray shoots that other way. All right, going back here. So if I jump, I'm jumping too fast here. So if we look at the different kinds of angles, we have the small angles. Now, you probably talked about this in elementary school. We're just kind of refreshing your memory of it. The small angles, well, actually, let's first start out with your L angle, all right? Your right angle. Your right angle is 90 degrees, makes an L shape. So there's two angles that kind of are based on the right angle. It's an angle that's smaller than a right angle, and an angle that's, if I can do it, bigger than a right angle. So we have the smaller one is an acute angle. I always think, oh, it's so acute because it's so small. So that's an acute angle. Then you have the obtuse angle. Think of the O as being big and round. And the obtuse angle is bigger than your 90 degrees. And then there's our right angle. We're not really going to talk about reflect angles. I just really like this picture, so I put it in here. So you don't have to know about that. But the straight line, a straight line is actually an angle. It's an angle that opens up 180 degrees. So when we're thinking of measuring angles, it's our starter ray, and you're measuring how far the second ray will open up. So on our straight line, it opens up all the way, and that's how you have a 180 degree angle there. All right, so if you look at this angle is measuring, you always put the measurement there. And again, that shows the open up version, 120 degrees. So therefore, is that an obtuse or an acute? Let you think about this. You can't actually click on it right now, but just think about it. If you said yes, it is an obtuse, you're right. It is an obtuse because obtuse is bigger than 90 degrees. Because it's obtuse. Remember, everything's based on 90 degrees there. So what about this angle here? Is this an acute angle or is it not an acute angle? Let you think about it a second. If you said yes, you're right again. Again, based on your L or your 90 degree angle, your right angle, it is smaller than your right angle, so therefore it is an acute angle. All right, now getting into naming an angle. I just do. All right, so naming a angle. There are a variety of different ways to name it, which usually about 3 ways. So this is my angle here, and if you notice, my angle has A, B, and C there. All right, so if you notice over here, we have these, looks like little less than signs. Those are actually represent an angle. So this is angle ABC, angle CBA, and angle B. And they're all talking about the same angle. Anytime you name an angle, you will talk about the rays. So we have this is A and this is C. And then our middle letter should always be the vertex, which is B. So A, B, and C. Now we can also call it C, B, and A. We're just looking at it from the other direction. Again, the B has to be in the middle because that is the vertex. Now, since there's only one angle at the vertex, because sometimes there could be multiple angles coming out of that same point, but since there's only one angle coming out of the vertex, we can just call that angle B. So just be aware of how we name it, because from now on, that's I'm going to say, hey, look at angle ZQX or whatever, and you need to be able to find that angle in a drawing. So there are 2 types of angles when we were looking at properties of an angle. Either 2 angles might be supplementary to each other, or 2 angles might be complementary to each other. So if they're supplementary, that means whatever they measure, like this angle from here to the middle to here, if I take that measurement and I add it to whatever this to here, this angle is, it should be 180 degrees. If it's 180 degrees, it's supplementary. Now, complementary is a little bit smaller. Complementary means the 2 angles are going to make a right angle. So we have this angle right here, plus this angle starting here, going to C, and back here. If you add those 2 angles together, you get 90 degrees. So therefore, they're complementary. In our vocabulary coming up, you will need to know those. So make sure that's something you memorize. Complementary makes your 90 degrees. Supplementary, if you think, supplementary, if you're a skateboarder and you do a 180, supplementary, skateboard, both start with S. You know how I like to think of those weird things. So those are 2 different properties of some angles. So if you look at my picture right here, excuse me, there are lots of points that are labeled. We have P, S, R, and Q, T, and V. Those are all points. And if I said, hey, I want you to name an angle, I could say, hey, look at angle PQR, angle PQR. So that means I'm going from P to Q to R, because those are the way I said it is the way that you would go. I could say angle PTV. Angle PTV is this angle right here in the middle, right? So there's lots of different ways. Now T actually has a couple of angles sprouting from it. I could say VTR. Again, T is your vertex, so you have to say that second. I could say PTQ. So if I think of PTQ, remember, if I go over to this other screen real quick, you would label it angle PTQ. That's how you'd write it. The T right there, boop, boop, boop. That T, that is your vertex. Let's check, is that right? Yes, our T was our vertex right there, right? So that is how you name an angle. All right, we're not going to do this right here. Is this my last one? Because this is hard for you guys to do virtually. But if you look at this, if you're looking at complementary angles, we're looking at 2 angles that when you add them together, they make 90 degrees. two angles that make 90 degrees. And you could have said QPT, this one right here. If you add it to this little angle right here, TPS, you get 90 degrees. So that would be a complementary angle. Whew, I said a lot. All right, you're going to have some assignments that are going to be talking about that. You can always rewatch this video if you have any questions. Send me an email if you have any questions. But yeah, you have an awesome week, and I will talk to y'all later. Don't forget, we have our online lessons on Thursdays, so don't forget about those. See you later.